Hi there, and let's discuss globalization of religion and the impact of globalization on religion. For this topic, we have our objectives. One is to explain how globalization affects religious beliefs and practices, and second, analyze the relationship between religion and global conflict. Right. So, for us Filipinos, religion actually plays a vital role. It's because our values are actually anchored on our religion. It has affected our attitude, characteristic, perspectives in life. And this is not just true to us Filipinos, but it is also true to former third world countries or developing countries, and even in the West or developed countries. And globalization can refer to the worldwide interconnectedness of all areas of contemporary social life, which actually include religion. And one of the areas actually is religion, which entails a personal or organized system of religious beliefs and practices on this is actually if we are going to define religion, this is the belief in a god or in a group of gods. This is an organized system of beliefs, ceremonies, rules used to worship and a god or a group of gods. For informal, this is an interest, a belief, or an activity that is very important to a person or group. On one hand, globalization has affected religion in various ways. So in so many ways, it affected our religion. Globalization paved the way to the rise of religious nationalism, the turn of religion into public life, the proliferation of international terrorism, and the increase of individual religiosity. What are the effect of the effect of globalization on religion? First, globalization gave rise to religious nationalism that came about after the Second World War. Nationalism was closely associated with particular religious beliefs and affiliations. For example, in the Philippines, the crafting of the law is sometimes anchored on the lawmaker's belief in Christianity. Okay, in 2018, there is a National Bible Day was declared, a special working holiday. Islam-ruled states in the Middle East similarly are influenced by practices of Islam. Okay, so that's one of the effect. The second is that globalization led to the turn of religion into public life as a reaction to post-World War II modernism. The often forceful entrance of religious traditions such as Catholic liberation theology and Islamic fundamentalism from private sphere into public life is actually a good example of the turn of religion into a public life. Religion goes beyond the administration of sacraments for Catholics and focuses more on the social concerns of the poor and the oppressed inside and outside the church. So this time, religion is actually not just a practice, or it has already become a public life na murabag ka ng it already it discusses the concerns of the poor and the oppressed. It acts on how to eliminate being poor, being injustice, or being discriminated. So mo na siya a turn of religion into public life. The third is a proliferation of international terrorism. For one, religious extremism, kaya naman tagitawag nga international terrorism, which is actually most of the time related siya sa religious extremism. And religious extremism is a type of political violence anchored on the belief that a supreme being grants violence in the act of glorifying one's faith. So, religious extremism, mura na sila kanabitang God gave us the right to do this for the common good, right? Mura na siyang ana. And extremists believe that it is their duty to fulfill God's will through violence. Okay? Lipulin ang tanan para mabago ang mundo. Maraging ana siya. Like in 2017, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or what is commonly or widely known as ISIS, a known extremist group, triggered the locals of Mindanao to launch the Marawi siege for 5 months. No? So, dili lang na siya, nagkuan man siya, nag-react siya into kanang ilang holy duty to carry out the God's will. Ano siya. To understand more on the ISIS part, I will actually attach a video here which is entitled The Rise of ISIS, so you will be able to understand how the group was formed and how they were able to proliferate nga niabot na sila sa Pilipinas. Okay, the fourth effect of globalization is that globalization prompted the increase of individual religiosity, brought about by the individual's need to rely on his or her beliefs and relationship with the supreme being. Okay, so individual sa una kay kung unsa gid na siya sa imong grupo, congregation, maorgan na siya. But because of globalization, naana siya kanamurag individuality, na individual religiosity, nga parang the God, as long as I have personal relationship with God, dili na siya para sa una nga kinahanglan gyud mo ato ka sa church, you belong to a congregation, you belong to a religious group. But with globalization, lahi na siya. For some, it is a reaction, kanang reaction is siya based on one's frustration toward institutionalized religions. Na for others, they just do not want to belong or to engage in any organization. So nagi mangingana kanang murag sobra na ka institutionalized, daghanay rules, daghanay dili siya murag sunod sa Bible na siya. So napiuban dili lang ko gusto nga mabilong, so I will have a personal relationship with God, ana lang sila. Fifth is deterritorialization of religion. So meaning deterritorialism, meaning dili na lang naka-attach sa territory ang religion. This is actually because of global migration. Okay, when we say global migration, meaning the movement of people from one country to another, because of this migration, globalization has forced the appearance of religious traditions in places where these previously had been unknown or considered a minority. Ang pinaka-example ani is the Iglesia ni Cristo. Right? Iglesia ni Cristo was originally in the Philippines, and then because of migration, because of nikalat na siya. Also Christianity is actually proliferated because of migration. So example, ang presence po sa Islam sa Europe, ang Catholicism, Christianity sa Arab nations, di ba? So kung Arab nations, maano ko to, Islam na siya, but na Christianity, na Catholicism dito naapoy sa Europe, makaingon ta nga Christianity na ang ilang kuan diha but na ay Islam, diba? So this is because of the influx of overseas workers coming from different parts of the world carrying their own faith and belief system. So kung asa tapadulong atong religion dala-dala nato, and eventually makahimutag change dito. So lately lang na ako'y nakita nga video that was done by Will Dasovich, that there is actually a part in California wherein Pilipino kaayo ang dating, na Jollibee, ang religion, ang mga tao nagtatagalog, sila. That's actually brought about by migration. Mga taong ni balin sa states, ito ni Puyo, etc. And then nakabuo na sila. Also Chinatown, bisan asa na ay Chinatown, diba? The other one is Easternization of the West. This is actually proposed by Campbell in 2007. Global migration, ang global migration resulted in the Easternization of the West, meaning na-impluensyahan. Okay. The West, which is the starting point of the spread of the world religions, is now the recipient of a new system of beliefs from the East. So, kung di ba dapat ang West daw is the start of, is where the religion started, but it is now a recipient na mga new system of beliefs from the East nga nakasulod sa West. There is also a rise in number of believers of Asian religions like Zoroastrianism, Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Okay, so ni-spread na siya. The last one is the global trends and impulses. Like social media used as a tool for evangelism. Okay, na global trend na siya. Di ba? Makita nato that there are actually religious activities that are practiced or that we can see on television, right? Like for example, sikat ana is the American evangelist nga si Joel Osteen, si Kirk Thomas Cameron. They use Facebook and other social media platform to spread their belief. So these are the main effects of globalization on religion. Nationalism, religion to public life, international. Actually, it's also proliferated international terrorism, which is a negative one. There's also an increase in individual religiosity, so we have like personal level na, and the territory, meaning religion is no longer attached to a certain territory. Global trends, we also use social media and other platforms to proliferate religion. Okay, so model of 4 distinct localization according to Rodomitov in 2014. So sa spread sa na-theory nga nabuo on how the religion is proliferated, and these are the 4 theories: the vernacularization, indigenization, nationalization, and transnationalization. Okay, so in the vernacularization, it's actually a blending of universal religions with local languages. Okay, so dili na siya kanag yung na universal nga language sa religion, but ni-adapt siya sa local languages. So for example, ang Arabic, which is used as Islam's sacred language even outside the Arab world. Ang Greek po, ang Latin remains the primary languages of Christianity. So this vernacularization of religion also results in the creation of new branches of religion, such as Orthodox Christianity, which stems from Christianity. So because of the nag-adapt siya sa local languages, nagkaroon po og branches ang mga religion, no? Especially ang daghang branches is kanang mga Protestants, mga kanang sa Christian religion, daghan na sila because they adapt, no? Nag-adapt sila sa local languages. And then indigenization transforms universal religion to suit the specifics of a particular ethnic group. Indigenization. So, gi-transform na nila. An example is the practice of Islam by various ethnic groups in the Zamboanga Peninsula. Another example is the blending of African traditional forms of religiosity and Christianity in Brazil and the Caribbean. So, ilang silang gitransform ang religion na mga practices nga bag-o just to adapt sa culture, no, sa particular ethnic group para sila ma-appeal. Kaya na siya. Number 3, nationalization. It form a link between the nation and the church. So, okay, so this is where the religious institutions or groups relate to national identities and the realities of that nation. Being part of the nation means belonging to its national church. So, for example, ani is the Philippine Independent Church, or an independent Christian denomination. Another example is the National Church in the Philippines. And then also people also tend to add national modifiers to their religious identification, like the Greek Orthodox Christianity. So mura siya kanang ilang gi-relate into the nation, kung unsa ang nation. Diba, nation is actually the coming together of people with the same beliefs, culture, language, ano siya. So ana po sa religion na nationalization wherein nirelate ang religious group to the nation. Transnationalization, akong gibanggit ganina ang Iglesia ni Cristo. Iglesia ni Cristo is also an example of transnationalization. No, this is it was formed here in the Philippines, and then nana siya mga churches are all over the globe. Una siya. Globalization of religion. Globalization of religion brought two opposing results, the conflict and peace. Mao gina siya. So nakadala siya conflict, as you can see na ay mga religion nga nagbiak-biak, di ba? Nagkanya-kanyang denomination. And it also brought peace. Nagamit po siya in certain mga issues bitaw nga in the brink of war na ang duha countries, and then ipasok ang religion. It actually brought about peace. Starting sa late 20th century, religion has become a source of global conflict and peace. So dito pa lang nagsugod na. Reading international news stories from the global mass media giants, one can readily observe that religion plays a role in global conflict. So, pag makita natin sa mga balita, no, na makaingin kita nga, ang religion, nagid siya yung role. Like, for example, in Britain, ang Muslims were linked to the jihadist attack in June 2017 on the London Bridge. Ang mga Jewish nga extremists nga sa Israel, they were accused pod of targeting and beating Palestinians also in June 2017. So kung makita nato sa mga balita, dili siya kanang conflict kay nag-away ang duha ka tawo, kundi conflict siya na ay mga times ng conflict nga brought about by religion, no? Sa like sa Britain, ang mga Muslims daw gi-associate sila sa mga jihadist extremist, ang mga Jewish, ang mga um, Christian. So nagdala gyud siya og conflict. On the other hand, nagdala pud siya og kanang peace, because many times in the past, kung makuan nyo sa mga balita, that religion was actually able to bring countries into peace, no? Usahay manggod kay bisan in our level may mag-away, and then because of our religion, we will seek peace na. Okay, so let's have peace because maogi na siya. Then globalization, conflicts are about identity and economics and privilege and power. So mo na ingon ni Jürgensmeyer in 2014. So ang conflict daw about our identity, kung kinsa ta, no? Usahay nay conflict because racial discrimination, because of our identity. Majority of the conflicts actually is in economics and privilege and power. So economics meaning kinsa to na access sa resources, kinsa to naka-manage sa resources, kinsa to nikita sa resources. So madalas mauna ang reason nga naay conflict. There are 5 stages daw of global religious rebellion. Naay 5 stages. The first is the revolt against secularism. Secularism means kanabitang pag-rule without consideration of religion. Okay, so secularism, wherein localized uprisings go up against states' less moral authority to govern. So kuan nila nga murag ang gobyerno does not have moral authority to govern, kay ang gobyerno is wala niya gi-consider ang religion. Second is the internationalization of religious rebellion. The warfare comes between religious and secular politics. So, yung secular politics, kanag yung politics nga walay consideration sa religion. Global war, there is an expansion of range and depth of conflict between the secular and religious forces. So ni abot na ang conflict in the global stage. Invention of global enemies. So there are anti-American and anti-European sentiments are growing. So katong mga anti-American, especially ang pinaka-known is Islam, no? Kung madumduman ninyo gibomba ang US atong September 2011, mao tong gitawag nga 9/11. That's actually one of the effect of the invention of global enemies, which is the American and Europe. Religious dimensions of post-Arab Spring. This is the jihadist strategy, which is proven to be not the way to end the struggle, but with the use of non-violent means, as demonstrated in the Tahrir Square in Egypt. Ang jihadist manggod is jihadist actually to call for non-violent means. Kaso lang karon pag may jihadist gani, jihadist war is a war that is religious based, na wala ginagamit kasagaran sa mga Islam. Okay, now we have as you can see, religion is also a source of peace, no? The teachings of great religions on moral principles and values are necessary tools for the lessening of avarice, abhorrence, and illusions that are the root causes of conflict. So, isa po siya sa source of peace. Especially, like, for example, kanang si Pope na nawagan, world peace. There are organizations that are formed, religious organizations that are formed to propagate peace. Okay? Pag may tag-avarice, extreme greed for wealth and material gain, abhorrence feeling of repulsion, disgusting loathing. So, ang mga teaching sa religion, di ba, mga teaching, mahalo ninyo ang inyong isang isa, asama sa pagmahal ninyo sa inyong kagalingan. So, that's actually a source of peace. In many ways, religion is affected by globalization, right? At the same time, it has contributed to the rise of global conflicts and the achievement of world peace. So, mura siya kanabitang, dili siya matawag nga good, di siya matawag nga bad, but it's actually depending on how the people interpret and how they carry out their beliefs. So, naay negatively, naapoy positively. So, muna siyang, that's the globalization of religion. So, because of globalization, religion has proliferated, it has brought about nationalism and all. However, this is also a source of conflict. So, a very good example of this is the war on ISIS. So, there is a video that I will attach together with this PowerPoint presentation on the rise of ISIS. So you will be able to understand kung sa sila nagsugod, how they were able to triumph for a short period of time, how they were able to proliferate, and how they were able to reach the Philippines katong nang hitabo sa Marawi siege. So that's it. If you have questions, you can post it in our classroom.